This is my potter's journal, just a simple potter, but that won't stop me from getting in over my head and taking on ceramic book reviews. Just a small stack here of the many that I have. I'll go over that stack at the end. That doesn't stop me, though, from getting another one shipped in a couple weeks ago. This time it is, hear me now, the Black Potters of Edgefield, South Carolina. And this was published with a show that just closed at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And I grew up with a Hamada Leach philosophy. Here we go, a potter's book, Beyond East and West, of looking east for inspiration, not to the pots made for nobility, but peasantware pots, large vessels made for food. Here we go, Soetso Yanagi, the Unknown Craftsman, pots that may have been huge and for vase or jars for food storage, you know, not decorative vases, and simply glazed, but richly and you know, earthy glazes. I was made aware last fall by YouTube, respected potter Guy Wolf, who pointed me in the direction of Dave the Potter and the pots being made from this area in South Carolina, and it sent me on a quest actually to see some of these pots. Potter's Journal. See that sign back there? We're at the Charleston Museum in South Carolina, and this is my Potter's Journal for what is it now? October 2022. We are here to see the Dave the Potter pots, the largest public collection, I hope, there is of his work to see. Long drive from Pittsburgh. I'm going to go and see what's inside the Charleston Museum today. The big thing here is, this is in a sense in my own backyard. Okay, it was half a day or almost a day's travel away, but I make the trip once a year from Pittsburgh to Florida and South Carolina and Charleston. The Charleston Museum was a nice halfway stop. But wanting still, you know, even after the visiting there, wanting more and wanting to see more and wanting more information about what I'd seen and picked up in bits. This is a catalog book. This is for a show at the Met, and it's a beautiful catalog book. I think they illustrated practically every piece that was in the show. So it's beautifully illustrated. Actually, the museum, some of the pieces were rather dark and you really couldn't see all that well. But this also answered a question too on the face jugs, because I saw them in the Charleston Museum. There was only one or two. They were very small. I had no idea if this was something that was fairly rare or there was a lot of them out there in the world. And this answered some of that question as well. Also, the size, they relatively small. Also, the connection that my history, that I was brought to them by contemporary cartoon character Disney-esque ones when I was first asked to make one, and almost didn't want to till I took the history back to Erlen Craig, but knew there was more history, and I was only getting little bits of it here and there. This actually shed a huge light on it, including who they were made for, why they were made for, and even making the connection back to West Central Africa and the Nkechi sculpture pieces there that were instilled with a magic, and something that the potters here in Edgefield did as well. the Charleston Museum, it almost went unnoticed by me. There was some slipware, which has been a direction for me. Tulipware, Pennsylvania German potters, English slipware collection. When I was at Westmore Pottery last fall, I was pointed toward North Carolina, Moravian Pottery, although this one I've not read yet. But, okay, hear me now. This made it quite clear that the slipware was being produced in, Edgefield, and it was very well known by Dave the Potter, who even had his name engraved in one of the pieces here in the show. So it's hard not to be starstruck by that one name, Dave the Potter, but this was industry. There were so many Daves. Okay, yes, Dave the Potter. Selfie. Okay, yeah, I don't take a lot of selfies. Here we go. So, a pretty picture book, but way more than that. Way more than that. There was, looks like about 5 essays in here. Spinozzi, I believe she was one of the curates for the show, did a history, a timeline, but it was not, you know, a timeline just with numbers and dates and names, but things like in, you know, roughly 1919 or something, if the Charleston Museum hadn't collected an oral history by somebody who could still remember, and it was corroborated actually by another, how much might have been lost. And you know, the connection with the Charleston Museum, I was so lucky to be able to see that, and it wasn't, some of the pots that there weren't out in part of the show. Okay, Vincent Brown, okay, Harvard professor. Oh, okay, I guess it's a big deal if you go to Harvard. If you're a Harvard professor, his profile on the internet made him look like a rock star, which apparently he is. Okay, The Art of Enslaved Labor. You know, all the 3 or 4 essays that were here, all were easy to read, but very, very substantive. A lot to think about. The pots, you know, are so much in themselves, but the history, the culture and society, the bit that was forced on them as okay, enslaved industrial labor adds a whole nother dimension to think about and contemplate when you look at the art. And then we come to Dave's words. Okay, at a time when it was illegal for him to learn how to read or write, how somebody who had a voice, who had a huge voice, who somehow learned to express it, and not only that, but to be self-published, to etch his words in stone, and so sensitively. It's not easy to engrave a pot, but to have it, you know, the threat on your life that you did that, but self-published, and the words, seeming if you had just been introduced to, and somebody quickly says, you know, verses on the pots, but this was way more, that the show highlighted the educational part of the show, his place in the history of American letters. That the words, seemingly simple, but quite often so much meaning can be read into them. And the question too, who were they written for, or what audiences, or possibly what varying and diverse audiences, near and far, and also the question, what do they have to say today? So most substantive, okay, all around. to Blah scale, I give it 100. Okay, go out and get it. There was also a dialogue here with artist Simone Lee, contemporary artist. There were several contemporary artists in the show whose interview I remember on CBS Sunday Morning. I'd like to see the show. I just missed it. It was at the Metropolitan from September until February 5th. Not that I would rush off to New York City, although I'd been there, maybe 5 or so times for art in my lifetime. I'm not going to Boston, the museum, okay. Museum of Fine Art Boston, it'll coming up from March 6th to July 9th. I'm not going to Michigan, the University of Michigan Art Museum, Ann Arbor. It will be there from 26 August to January 7th of 2024. And then it will be at the High Museum of Art, Atlanta, from February 16th through May 12th. So stop back and see if I get to that show. So thank you, Guy Wolf, for pointing me in the direction to Dave Drake. It led me to so much more. I'll have to get around to reviewing your book sometime. The first one I came up with was Dave the Potter, Artist, Poet, Slave, a kid's book. Maybe Adrian's Pottery can connect us with Read with JoJo, who could read this for us, and supposedly has a Amida book too. So that would be nice. I also came across Etched in Clay, The Life of Dave Enslaved Potter and Poet, Andrea Cheng. This was interesting in that it's written his history in verse, and it includes his words, his verse in her part of the story too, I believe. I haven't read that one. And this, Carolina Clay, The Life and Legend of Slave Potter Dave, this I found at the Charleston Museum. I did not know about this book either. So this was quite a thing to find, most enlightening. We'll have to get around to reviewing this. It was by Leonard Todd, a blend of what little fact there was from record and speculative. I didn't know the way they were blended together, how to take that, but they did list it here in Hear Me Now, and did list it as a good source. Also, 2 books I didn't locate and didn't know about until I picked this up. I Made This Jar, The Life and Work of Enslaved African-American Potter Dave, and another one, Great and Noble Jar, Traditional Stoneware of South Carolina. Okay, you also can check out on YouTube the Mets very nice review of the show, and stop back for another Potter's Journal book review and maybe a pot, where we start a dialogue with Dave Potter.